Boy, the last couple of years we've heard a lot about change. Well, you notice in Israel change was needed. It was needed bad. But change did not come and was not initiated through the house of some important figure. It didn't come through a high-level judge. It didn't come through an important political figure. You may ask why, because they were not listening. They were not listening to what God was saying. Now let me tell you something. Do you know that leadership, especially in a democratic nation like ours, is only a reflection of the people? You don't like your leaders? And take a good hard look at yourselves. You created them. You allow them to operate the way that they operate. What's happening at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue and other places in government is just a magnification of what's happening at 102 Main Street. The God of the universe is searching for someone willing to listen to His voice. I love this story because in this story, the God of the universe visits a field where there's a little nondescript man there. He's not famous. He doesn't even have it all together in his own life. And God visits its field and He sits down under a tree. And I'm telling you what, ladies and gentlemen, God is visiting a lot of fields right now. As a matter of fact, I think if you'll stop your survival mode for just a second and lift your head and look, you'll see Him sitting in your field. The religion that Gideon's fathers had taught to him was so confusing, it was so diluted, and it was so weak that Gideon didn't even recognize the King of Kings as he sat in his field. Then the king speaks. He speaks to this young man. And what he says captures the heart of this man. God is speaking something to people's hearts out there right now. But can Gideon believe it? Can he believe it? Because religion, as Gideon knows it, is a failure. Now I want to share with you a few things that the Lord has shared with me that are key to the birth of a new generation. And this new generation is the key to saving our nation. And I'm going to run through these real quickly. First point that I know God shared with me to share with you is called the necessity of sacrifice. Everyone say the necessity of sacrifice. Brothers and sisters, ladies and gentlemen, sacrifice is essential to the saving of this nation. When you are in an over-leveraged, overindulged situation, as we are in this country, sacrifice is imperative to save you. We must make sacrifices. The problem, we do want change, but we want it without sacrifice. And our leaders are so fearful because the goal that they have is not to correct the problems of the nation. Forgive me. You say, how can you say that about them? You don't know their hearts. I can see their actions. Jesus said, by their fruits you'll know them. Yes, man. There's no doubt by watching them operate that their goal is to get reelected and not fix the problems. And they know, now before we come down too hard on them, they know that you're not going to stand for change and sacrifice, so they don't do it. Before you get too angry at me, you think about what's happening in Greece. The nation of Greece, it's bankrupt. The ruling authorities in Greece have come out and said, we've got to have some sacrifices. The people are marching in the street. They don't want to give up their entitlements. If you don't want to give up your entitlements, pretty soon there won't be a nation to give you an entitlement. But notice this. When God spoke to Gideon, Gideon went and prepared a sacrifice. It touches my heart that the God of the universe, the God, that says the angel of the Lord, but you must understand, that when it says angel of the Lord with that capital A, that means that's God. It touches me that the God of the universe was moving to and fro, finding an army of people that was going to listen to his voice. It also touches me that this young man in his confusion needed a sign from God, and he also felt impelled to sacrifice, and he said, will you wait on my sacrifice? And the God of the universe, who could have been doing a lot of other things, says, I will wait on your sacrifice. If that sacrifice wasn't necessary, the God of the universe would have said, we don't need that. We can do it without that. It was essential to the process, to what was going on at the time. Now, the Bible clearly tells us that the enemy was destroying all the livestock. This young man was threshing wheat to hide. He goes and gets a goat. That was a tough sacrifice for him. He goes and he gets a goat and he prepares it and he brings it out. Until sacrifice occurs in this nation, real change is not going to occur. It's not going to occur. And I'm not just talking about sacrifices, cutting programs. That's got to happen. But I'm talking about sacrifice. It begins in the people, because those people up there are just a reflection of us. It begins in us. We must be willing to lay our sacrifices on the rock. And who's the rock? Jesus Christ of Nazareth. And he is going from field to field looking for someone who is willing to lay his sacrifice on the rock.